Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
All right, folks, welcome to a brand new episode of the Frankly Francisco podcast. I am your host, Francisco. So, I am back after a 3 week hiatus. I was battling COVID. It was pretty scary for those 3 weeks. Generally, I'm a healthy guy, but in this instance, it pretty hit me pretty hard. So, on this episode, I am going just to give you guys a rundown of the difficulties I had with COVID and the effect that it had on my body, on my family, on my job. So in the industry that I work in, I'm in finance. So finance and banking. So we have to deal with customers whether we want to or not. Social distancing be damned. There's only so much social distancing you can do. So my only thing was trying to figure out if I got sick from one of the employees or from one of the customers. And when it hit me, it was just, I went in, got my test, and it came back. At first, the funny part was at first they called me and say, "Oh, no, 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 you're negative. You're fine. You don't have to worry about it. You can go back to work." And not even 5 minutes later, the lady called me and says, "Hey, yeah, we made a mistake. Yeah, you are positive." So so it kind of caught me off guard in that instance when that happened. The next day on Sunday, I'm sorry, on Thursday, it hit me like a ton of bricks, man. I couldn't, I was sweating. Fever was 104, started puking. It hit me fast and hit me hard, and I couldn't do anything about it. Um, so my wife had to take care of me. So imagine me being a grown man and essentially taken down to a child level because you're incapacitated. You really couldn't move. Um, my skin was hurting. Even laying down, it hurt, which is weird. Like I couldn't lay in certain positions because my skin was felt like it was burning. Everything tasted salty. For me, everybody says they couldn't smell, they couldn't taste anything. For me, I could smell and I can taste, but every food that I ate was salty. If I sat up and I tried to eat, I would puke everything up. It got kind of it got kind of annoying after a while because trying to sit there and eat your food and then you can't even keep it down. Certain smells would make me throw up. It was pretty bad. So my wife had to step up, and me and her have heart roles in the household, and it was just a little bit difficult because I couldn't step in to do things I needed to do as a dad and as a husband, and she had to step in and take care of me, which I'm very grateful for. So a after a couple of days, I had to go to the hospital. I had to go to the ER because it was just getting bad. So when I went in, they really do separate you from everybody else in the hospital. So when I went into the ER, they asked what I was here for. I told them I had a positive COVID test. I wasn't feeling well. So they make you sit in the lobby area, but one side is strictly for COVID patients. The other side is for people who are just having regular aches and pains that would normally come in. So they'll sit you there for about a good 30, 40 minutes before they even come see you. Then when they come ask you questions, they're geared up. I mean, to the T. They had mask on with, they looked something out of a sci-fi. You had to, it looked like a gas mask with a breathing apparatus put on there for them to, and it was loud. It was very, very loud, the machines they had on to protect themselves. So we sat there and we talked. They asked me all the questions of what was going on. And when I tell you they used me as a pincushion, I've never had blood drawn from me so many times than it was when I had COVID-19. They drew so many times trying to figure out what was going on besides the COVID. I had MRIs done, which came back clean. I had a CT scan, which came back clean because they thought it might have been something worse. So they had to run all these tests, chest X-rays. They had to check my heart, my lungs, but we had pretty clear view of everything that was there, well, with no issues. Generally, being a healthy guy, I may be a big guy. I'm 6'3", 300 plus pounds, but I'm a generally healthy guy for my size. So I'm a pretty tough guy when it comes to getting sick. I'll truck through and I don't miss work and do the things I need to do. But this thing essentially put me down on my knees and kept me down for 3 weeks. So finally, 2 weeks go by, and I think things are starting to get better. And then, nope, right back to it. This time I had to go to the hospital again and I had to get admitted because the headaches were not getting better. It was so bad in my head that I couldn't turn left or right. I had to lay down because when I got up, automatically vertigo hit. It was room was spinning, and I've never had vertigo in my life. I've never been one of these type of people that my equilibrium is off. But this time it was. It was difficult. Couldn't stand. Um, I tried to take things for it, for the headaches and for the nausea, and none of it worked. Anything that I took, I threw up, and it became very, very difficult to continue to do what I was doing. So I had to go to the hospital. So when I went to the hospital again, it was an hour and a half wait this time. Went in, they ran the test, and they thought that I had meningitis because I couldn't move my neck, couldn't move my head back and forth and side to side. So the first diagnosis they said is, oh, you might have meningitis. We might have to do a spinal tap on you. And let me tell you, folks, that's the one thing you do not want to have is someone tell you we need to get a spinal tap done. That is one of the most painful procedures you can get done, especially being a grown up. When my son, my oldest son, was a baby, they had to do a spinal tap on him, and I almost completely lost it because the way they bent my son in the room, the nurses, the way they were doing it, and I got very upset about it. So I can imagine what it's like for a grown person trying to get a spinal tap done, so they can check the fluid in your spine. So they checked me into the hospital, and then again, pincushion. I was bled. I mean, they took vials upon vials of my blood, um, and they would come back 3 hours later and get more. They kept me for 2 days this time around to continue to run tests. They had me on IV because I was severely dehydrated. No matter how much I drank at home, no matter how much liquid I drank at home, I was not hydrated enough, and I was weak. I could barely move. So by the time they got done, I probably had 4 or 5 IVs in me just to try to get me hydrated. They also gave me a bag of a cocktail. They called it a COVID cocktail. It was supposed to ease some of the effects and some of the pain. It took quite a while for that to take effect, but it finally did take effect, and it actually worked out pretty well for me when it started working and the headache started going down. But the dizziness was still there just a little bit. So they kept me for the second night, and then things got a little bit better. The cocktail kicked in. They gave me a vitamin bag. I was low on potassium, and they gave me a bag of potassium to help, magnesium as well. So COVID essentially drained me to the point where I just couldn't do anything. Those overnights, this first time I have to spend time in the hospital since 2016. So, it's and on top of that, here's the funny part. On top of that, I'm one of these type of guys that I'm very regimented when it comes to my sleep schedule because I have to get up 6:40 in the morning, get ready for work, make sure the kids are up. Um, and I got insomnia because of COVID. And it's weird. It sounds weird, but I was maybe averaging an hour sleep a night, if that, because of the COVID. It affected me in such a way that you know I really thought at one point that I got scared and I thought I was gonna die because I thought something was wrong with my brain because of not being able to move my head without the sharpness of the pain. This is why they did the MRI and the CAT scan, but everything came out clear. So lo and behold, it's time for me to get back to work after you quarantine, but I couldn't. So I had to take another week of short term disability to make sure that I got back on my feet. And after that, I was able to, start feeling a little bit better. My energy level, even to this day, my energy level is not where it needs to be. I still have a little bit of fogginess in my brain, but they said that can take a little while to recover from because of the COVID. It's weird, man. It's weird for a guy my size. I move pretty fast and I'm always on the go. I outpace a lot of these kids nowadays. These kids are in their 20s. You know, I outpace a lot of them, man. I work, long days. I work most Saturdays, but I don't complain because I provide for my family and do the things that I need to do. So for me not to have the energy that I have, it's really, really annoying, and it bugs the hell out of me because this is not who I am. But this is what COVID can do to you. A lot of people thought it was a joke. I never did. I never thought this was a joke. I never thought that it couldn't happen to me. I feared every day that it can happen to me because of the type of job that I do for a living. Um, and we were always going to prepare ourselves for when it happened because eventually we knew it was going to run our way, whether we wanted it to or not. So for me, now my choice comes in whether I want to take this vaccine or not. Uh, I was told that I should wait a little while before I take the vaccine and make sure that I choose the vaccine I think it's going to work best for me. The vaccine I'm skeptical about because I just think it was rushed. Human trials. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand that they had to do this because they shut the country down. Our economy's in the tank, um, and they want everybody to get back to work to prop this economy back up and do the things that we need to do. But man, putting that in your body, that believe that should be a personal choice. I don't believe any job should force you to have to take a vaccine. You're putting something foreign into your body. You don't know what it is. You don't know the effect it's going to have from you 10 years down the road. It may stop you from being sick now, and it may stop you from getting other people sick. But 10 years, 15 years, you don't know what kind of effect that's going to have in your body. And a lot of people are not taking that into account. I can understand the older folks, people who are in their 50s, 60s, people with underlying health issues. They want to get the vaccine because they need it because they're more susceptible to this and it can end their lives. I was lucky. And the reason I say I was lucky is a lot of people didn't wake up. A lot of people didn't wake up because of COVID-19. Um, so some people were asymptomatic. My kids, them being here, my wife being, they were asymptomatic. I was the only one that got hit hard, which is not like me. So they ran all the tests under the sun. They ran tested my kidneys, my lungs, my liver, everything. They said for a guy my size, I was healthy. They were surprised. No high cholesterol, no high blood pressure. I'm just a big guy. I've always been a big guy. So I'm always going to be a big guy no matter what. But I'm a generally healthy big guy. So if COVID can take me down to the level that it took me down, it can take anybody down to that level. No one's safe from this. Period. So I really think on my end, the vaccine might be something I might have to consider a little bit down the road because I have too much at stake. I have a family to take care of. I have a house, I have mortgage, I have car payments. You have to take all those variables into account. It's been hard right now for the podcast because I just can't get anybody in the chair because of COVID, and it's become difficult. Reaching out to people, and people are like, yeah, you know they're not comfortable. They don't want to do it, or they're just not giving answers back. But you just keep plugging away. I'll keep plugging away at this no matter what. Eventually I will start having people back in the chair. That's the goal. You got to. You can't I can't do this without being able to talk to people because that's what I do. That's the reason I started this, because I wanted to get people in the chair to give them a voice and express themselves and talk about the things that they want to do with their life. Things that they want to achieve, things that they're on the precipice of doing, goals that they're trying to reach, and I'm me giving them the platform to be able to do that. The difficulty part comes in is just getting them here. Since I have COVID already, the way my setup is, we're social distancing no matter what. We're all going to be 6 feet apart. They can wear masks when they come in, but like I said, it's all up to those people if they feel comfortable doing it or not. So I might have to change this up a little bit. So in the meantime, I might start putting out video podcasts. So it'll come out in two forms. I'll record it over video like Skype, or one of these video sites where we can interview people over Skype and they can feel comfortable. And then I'll just have to go in and fix the audio. That's the only way I can do it. And then start posting the podcast back up, and then adding the video podcast to my YouTube channel, which would be a big help for me as well to build that channel up and drive traffic over there. So it is Frankly Francisco podcast on YouTube. You can find it there. Remember, this podcast is on every streaming service possible: Spotify, Google, every podcast service that you can think of. I want to try to expand this as best I can. COVID put a little bit of damper on that, put a little damper on my momentum because I was getting good views on the sites for streaming for the podcast, and I wanted to continue that. My Instagram page is growing with people who other podcasters as well. That's adding me, and that's Frankly Francisco podcast on Instagram. I also have a Facebook fan page, the Frankly Francisco podcast as well on Facebook. You can find me there. Um, I just want to continue to grow this thing, man. It's so much potential out there for people that just need to get their voices heard. Like I told you before, I'm not really into the celebrity thing. I want to talk to people who are on the cusp of being great and just need that extra push and that extra validation to get out there and do the things they need to do. Not everybody wants to have a spotlight, okay? Not everybody wants to be out there. Some people do, some people don't. But sometimes people just need a little bit of push to be able to go out there and accomplish the things they need to accomplish. Like me, I work a 9 to 5. I'm 9 to 5 guy. I have to be 9 to 5 a guy. I can't go full time with this podcast because I don't have any sponsors. That you got a lot of these guys that are out there making buku dollars and making tons of money, and great for them. I don't knock anybody for the success that they have, especially in this podcast game. There's millions of podcasts out there. When I tell you millions, millions of podcasts, the whole point is you have to have your podcast stand out. If you can't have your podcast stand out, what are you doing? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You got to do something different than what everybody else is doing. So my thing is, this is why I don't want to really deal with celebrities. Now, would I ever stop a celebrity from coming on the show? No, I wouldn't, because those are opportunities you don't want to pass up on. But my general consensus is, if I can help it and not have to have a celebrity and have somebody that is a entertainer, an artist, an author, somebody that's on the rise, I would generally prefer to do that because I'm giving that person a voice and a platform to be able to showcase what they can do. And that's my purpose. Everybody has a purpose. My purpose is to give back. My purpose is to help people. Use my voice to help them use theirs. Sometimes folks just need a little encouragement, man. You got to encourage people sometimes. In the business that I'm in, I encourage people all the time when we get people that come in for, with their businesses. I'm their biggest cheerleader. That it's my job to, to gas them up. It's my job to push them forward. It's my job to give them the best advice that I can give them. Um, you have to be their biggest fan, especially when you're interviewing somebody, man. Especially if you have somebody that's talented. I mean, really, really talented, and they have a little bit of self doubt, and their stuff is good. I don't care whether it's spoken word, whether it's poetry, whether it's them being a filmmaker, music. If you like their stuff, man, you gotta gas them up. You have to help give them that confidence to push forward, because my thing is, I want to be part of their success. I want to be the reason that, hey, man, he gave me a push to be where I am. And in the back of their mind, they're going, man, that's a good guy. He helped me when I was down. He brought me up when I don't think I had it in me. And that's the type of person that I am. Anytime I meet somebody in the street, it annoys my wife a little bit, but I can talk to anybody. I always could. It's never been an issue for me. Never. I can hold conversations with anybody. And, some people don't have that talent. But in the field that I'm in, that's one of the things that you have to be able to do. You have to be able to talk to people. And talking to people for me has never been an issue. I learned a long time ago, if you're good at something, do it. Eventually, you want to get paid for what you do well. But in the meantime, you have to build it. And like anything else, I have to build this podcast. I'm going to go through my struggles. There's going to be episodes where people are not going to listen to me. There's going to be, the views are going to be down, but you just keep plugging away. If you're passionate about something that you do, continue to do it no matter what. Okay. You're going to have ups and downs. There's going to be self doubt. And you just got to keep pushing away. I love these people who say, "Oh, you don't have to work a 9 to 5 job if you love something, go for it and take a chance." Yeah, see, that's nonsense. And the reason I say that's nonsense is you need to have steady income. You just can't stop what you're doing, put 100% into something else, and not have a steady paycheck coming in, especially if you have a family. You got to have that steady stream of income. I'm not saying you can't have multiple streams of income. Of course you can, because eventually this is what I want this to be, a stream of income for me, for me to help support my family. But in the meantime, I have to work that 9 to 5, man. I got bills to pay. Some people can afford to do that. Some people have family and friends that'll back them up, and they can put their best foot forward and go 100%, into what they're doing. But for me, it's the opposite. For me, I have to do my 9 to 5 first. Then I have to schedule myself to come in here into my little studio over here, into my little box, and put in the work and talk to you folks. Let you folks know about the experiences that I've had and the experiences that I'm going through. Let you listen to people who are on the rise and people who you would never heard of. You would never heard of these people if I don't put them on. Eventually you might have, but me putting them on is giving them that push, than it would normally take because you're hearing their voice. I'm putting them on the podcast for you to hear them. So you have a sense of where to find them so you can actually listen to what they're doing and to read or to understand what their goals are. Some of the folks that I've met that I've talked to, man, these people are so talented. I mean, talented. It, artists, musicians. It's amazing how much talent there is out in the world that doesn't get cultivated and doesn't get pushed to the forefront because they don't have an outlet. They don't have an outlet to express themselves. They don't have an outlet to say, man, I wish somebody would have gave me an opportunity to do something so people can hear me and see the type of person I am, the type of talent I am. And that's my purpose. My purpose is to do that. My purpose is to push people to get them where they need to be. So I think me having COVID was it was bad, but at the same time it gave me more perspective on what it is because I thought I was going to lose my life at one point. It was that scary. I cried. I sat down and I was scared. And I don't get scared very easily. I'm not. I grew up. We grew up. Hispanics grew up to be tough and not really show emotions. And we're the whole machismo thing, which I think is ridiculous at times. But I sat there with my wife and I cried, man, before I had to go to the hospital for the second time because I really thought I wasn't gonna come home. It was that bad. Like I cried because it was that bad. Um, COVID, COVID got me, but I'm over it now. I'm healthier. I still have some minute issues that I'm dealing with, which is mainly the fatigue. The cloudiness is starting to clear, but the fatigue is still there, and I think that's going to be my biggest issue down the road is making sure that my energy level stays up and my energy level stays up the right way. So I continue to do this. I can continue to provide for my family. I can continue to entertain you guys. You know, I'm never gonna hold anything back talking to you guys. There's gonna be subjects that we're gonna talk about. Like some personal stuff that you normally wouldn't talk about. Intimate stuff like that. Normally, I'm not gonna tell people that I sat there and cried, man. But the whole point of this is to be honest with you guys and be raw, and no faking it. Being genuine is how people can relate to you because when you're fake, you know, you're not relating to anybody. It doesn't work that way. You have to be honest when you're talking to your audience, and that's what I want to do for you guys is just bring you some honesty and bring you some clarity on some of the things that I go through and some of the things that my guests go through. I'll tell my guests when they come on the show, listen, it's just we're having a conversation. It's not. I'm not going to ask you 20 million questions. We're just having fun. We're going to sit here. I'm going to ask you about what you do. I'm going to ask you, what got you there, things like that they feel comfortable doing. We're not going to deep dive into psychological stuff with them and, try to figure out their trauma, when they were kids, no. My thing is I want to get you in here and I want you to tell me about your passion. Tell me what gets you up every day to go to work, or what gets you up every day to do your music. You know, my passion is my family and travel. That's my passion. I'm not a materialistic person. I never have been. I can care less about driving a Mercedes or living in a, $2 million house. But for people who want to get that, by all means, go get it. There's nothing wrong with that. If you can live that lifestyle, live it. But that's never been important to me. What's been important to me has always been my family. And COVID made that very clear, that I was scared to death that I was going to lose my wife and my kids because of COVID-19. I'm trying to put a chokehold on the rest of this year of 2021. I'm trying to grow this podcast. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel. We'll be putting more videos up. There's 3 videos up. There's 2 podcasts up right now, and 1 video for an introduction. Just head over there, subscribe for me. Just take a look at the videos. They're the actual podcasts that I've done. And then eventually, like I said, we'll be doing interviews through video. It seems like that's to be the easiest way. I didn't want to do it that way, but the way things are going right now with COVID-19, I don't know when I'll be able to have somebody sit down with me again in person. I just feel like when you have somebody sitting in front of you, you get a more genuine conversation than you would otherwise get, and it can be better conversation. It can be a better flow than you would do in over a camera, because there's so many distractions when you're talking to somebody on camera. The dog starts barking, or the kids come in and they interrupt you. But I think in person the distractions are less, and it's more of an intimate setting, and you can get more out of that person when it comes to an organic conversation. It has to be organic. You can't force it. And I think through videos sometimes it feels, forced, or they feel like they don't want to be there, and it's something that they don't, it's not something they want to do. I never want to make my guests feel uncomfortable. I want them to come in and say, man, I want to come back to your show because you are real. You are not pushy. You're just here to make me feel, like you really are interested in what I have to say. And I think the listening skills is a big thing for a lot of people. For all my other podcasters out there, that's one thing that a lot of podcasters have to learn, is to listen before answering. I mean, I think listening skills are very important when it comes to dealing with people just in general, not just on the podcast, and not just in the field that I'm in when it comes to finance. I deal with people's money every day, and you want to listen to their concerns. You want to listen to what they have to say before you even answer them back. Let them finish. It's the same thing on the podcast. When people come in here and they want to have a conversation, they want to sit down, I'm going to let them talk. I'm going to let them, express what they have to say before I step in and ask another question. I think that's the best way to go. But I want to thank you guys. I had a lot of well wishes from a lot of folks when I came back and I started posting again on IG, and I started posting again on my Facebook page. Had a lot of well wishes. A lot of folks were happy that I was back, and I'm happy to be back. So we are going to try to put out every Friday again a new podcast, no matter what the situation is, except of course, getting sick, which I hope not to happen for quite a while. Um, and I want to continue to keep giving you good content and keep bringing back people to introduce to you. This year, we plan on traveling some. So some of the podcasts that we will be doing will be from the road. So places like Tennessee, places like Florida, places where there's talent there as well. We just don't want to limit ourselves to South Carolina, because there's so much talent out there that's not being cultivated that we want to bring to the forefront for everybody to take a listen to. So we will be doing our thing to get people, to get people out there. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening. For those who are listening, we will continue to grow this thing, put in the work, and continue to do what we do. I want to thank everybody, and we'll see you next time. All right. Have a good night.